My name is Kayla Belcher.
Hi, my name is Bailey Harrell.
Hey, my name is Krista Sykes.
Hi, my name is Brandy Thatch.
Project-based learning by Kayla Belcher, Bailey Harrell, Krista Sykes, and Brandy Thatch. So throughout the semester, we learned about design thinking and assist steps. For design thinking, we had to build a project based off of design thinking, and our project title was Surviving the Code, and it's with a second grade class. For define, we had how humans do not have fur, so how would they survive in harsh cold winters. For ideate, we talk about how humans put on winter clothes, have heaters in the house or outside the house, and depending on where they live, their shelter can keep them warm. For empathize, we talked about how our users will need certain types of clothing materials to stay warm, and then how some animals hibernating have a thicker coat and how some do not have a thicker coat, and how humans would imitate those animals that hibernate and how they imitate animals that don't hibernate. The end product would be students building a 3D clay model showing their understanding of what resources that are used with animals and humans to survive in the winter. For describe, we just basically talked about how we're going to teach the students about the card winter weather and the resources and everything that goes along with the project. And the end product, leading up to the end product, we talk about how each student will have a role assigned to each student for their groups. So every day when they come in the classroom, every student knows what their job is for the day regarding to their project. To build culture and prepare the students, we were going to build the background knowledge by reading them books and just decorate our classroom like a winter storm or the tundra, just something with fake snow and have a winter background so it feels realistic to the students.
Our standards are from Science from the Alabama Course of Study, SC 15.1.5, design a solution to a human problem by using materials to imitate how plants and or animals can use their external parts to help them survive, grow, and meet their needs. Social Studies, also from the Alabama Course of Study, SS.10.2.8, describe how scarcity affects the supply and demand of natural resources and human-made products. And our last one is from Art, from Alex Visual Arts PDF, AE 17.va.2.2. Explore personal interests and curiosities with a range of art materials, 3D art.
For scaffolding, we will activate students' background knowledge by seeing what they already know and connecting it with their personal lives. Like maybe they have some pets at home or they've seen pets at the zoo. Whatever they remember with how pets survive in their natural habitat, they can use that to relate it to how they're going to pay attention to and learn about the new animals, how they survive in winter weather storms. We'll also have a mini microphone that can clip to our shirt that connects to a speaker so everything can be heard and our voices won't have to strain. All students can receive clear direction and it will help with the hard hearing students. And we'll also pre-teach vocabulary words so that when they come across in a lesson, they will understand what's going on. And when we pre-teach these vocabulary words, we're going to do it with visual aids and in a creative way so that it sticks with them and that they can make connections with these new vocabulary words.
I'm going to be talking about the material list. This is just a list of materials that our students will be using throughout the activities and in the final project. All of these materials will be provided for the students, but on the final project, they will be allowed to bring in materials from home. In some activities, we may allow that as well, but all the materials will be provided for the students. So the material list includes some things like modeling clay, poster boards, Legos, toothpicks, fleece, yarn, craft sticks, cotton balls, pipe cleaners, and glue. An example of how some of the students may use some of these materials on the final project, the students will use the modeling clay to build a 3D model of an animal or a person to show how they can survive in the winter. And they're going to use Legos to build to show how an animal or human would build. And they'll also be using a container and they'll have to insulate it So those are just some of the materials that the students will be using.
Okay, for the rubric, the criteria is an average A, B, C, D, and it goes over empathize, define, ideate, prototype, test, and publish.
So for day 1, the I can statement for day 1 and 2 are going to be I can explain how animals use their external parts to survive. The activity for day 1 is that students will be placed into groups, and the assigned students will know what materials to grab for that day, and the teacher will assign students an animal for each group. It will be a polar bear, penguin, seal, or reindeer, and the students will then draw the animal as big as they can on a piece of parchment paper, label the external parts of that animal, and these external parts are going to be essential to how these animals survive. And then the assessment afterwards would be an essay slip that requires them to list the external parts that animals use to survive in the cold, harsh weather. So for day 2, it's the same I can statement as day 1, and it will be the same assessment with the essay slip. The activity for day 2 will be different, and the activity will be that the teacher will provide printed cards with pictures with animals on one side and the external body parts on the other side. And basically, each group will have to match the animals with the body parts that they use to survive. So for an example, they'll match a bird with a picture of a beak pecking for food.
Day 3. So for day 3, the I can statement is I can describe how humans imitate animals to survive. For this activity, students will compare how installation represented by wrapping one container in fur-like material affects the retention of heat compared to an unwrapped container. By measuring the temperature of water in both containers over time, they'll observe that the insulated containers retain heat better, mimicking how animals in the tundra use fur to stay warm. This hands-on activity demonstrates the concept of installation and how humans can learn from animal adaptations to survive in cold environments. The assessment will be an exit slip of 3 questions that the students are required to answer. The first question is, what was the purpose of wrapping one container in fur-like material? The second one is, describe how the temperature of the water in the container wrapped in fur changed over time compared to the unwrapped one. And 3, how does the installation provided by fur help animals like polar bears and Arctic foxes survive in the tundra? Thursday, day 4, the I can statement is I can describe how humans imitate animals to survive. The activity will be the teacher will take the students on a field trip to the zoo, and the students will observe the behavior of animals and identify any actions or strategies that humans might imitate for survival. The assessment will be the students will create a simple poster or drawing showcasing one animal they observed and one survival strategy humans could imitate from that animal. And day 5, Friday, the I can statement is I can explain the difference between natural resources and human-made products. The activity would be the teacher preparing a set of picture cards depicting various natural resources like trees, water, and sunlight, and human-made products like toys, clothing, and books. The teacher will divide the class into small groups and provide each group with a set of cards. The students will work together to sort the cards into 2 categories: natural resources and human-made products. The assessment would be each student will write or draw 2 items, one natural resource and one human-made product, and this can be done on a worksheet or a piece of paper.
For day 6, the I can statements I can use materials to imitate external parts of animals and the resources of humans. The activity will be the teacher will provide materials for students such as small pieces of cloth, cotton balls, googly eyes, pipe cleaners, and the students will have crayons and markers and colored pencils to use. With all these materials, the students will be in their groups, and they will create a buddy figure with features that are inspired by an animal And they would discuss how like the features from the animal would help their buddy figure survive on a daily basis in the cold habitat. And they will also have to explain what human resources that were used on their buddy to represent these parts as well. And the assessment will be that the students will watch a video on animals and humans surviving the cold winter, and they will talk about what they saw in the video and write it out or draw it, describing the similarities between humans and animals surviving in the winter. Day 7 has the same I can statement and the same assessment as day 6, with the video for the assessment and them writing and drawing what they saw that was similar. And the activity for today will be that the teacher will provide a bin with different materials that represent human resources, such as like cotton balls, Legos, yarn, sponges, and the students will just explore in those bins and pull those supplies out with their group and just discuss what they think each item would be used for and what it's for and like what resource. Day 8, the I can statement is I can use materials to imitate external parts of animals and resources of humans. It's the same I can statement and the same assessment as well, with them watching the short video on how humans and animals survive in a cold winter and them writing and drawing on parchment paper with their group what was similar between the humans and animals surviving in the winter. But their activity for day 8 would be that they will have stations set up as 4 corners, and the first corner would be the station of where they will learn different ways that humans can start and make a fire. The second station would be how humans have heat in their homes or fireplaces or heaters. The third station would be about different types of shelters humans can build to trap heat. And the last section would be about different clothing items or accessories or materials humans can wear to stay warm.
For Thursday, day 9, our I can statement is I can identify which human habits mirror those of tundra animals and compare them. Our activity is a habitat scavenger hunt where the teacher will place the cars or photograph of Arctic creatures and the associated human habits in different places throughout the outside or gym exploration area before the activity begins. I'll organize the students and let them know that they'll be participating in a scavenger hunt to learn about how people mimic the actions of tundra animals. Students will already be in their designated groups, and each group will be given a list of Arctic animals and the associated human behaviors that they must locate. Students will investigate the surroundings in order to find any concealed cards or photos and ask children to match the tundra animal with the appropriate human action as they locate each picture or card. For instance, they should be searching for the image or card that depicts human migration if they come across a picture of reindeer traveling. Our assessment will be a conversation after everyone has located and matched all of the pictures or cards, and each group will present their findings and talk about how the behaviors they saw in humans are similar to those of tundra animals. For Friday, day 10, our I can statement is I can identify which human habits mirror those of tundra animals and compare them. For today's activity, we'll have a role play / short skit. Because we have been looking at the ways that animals have adapted to live in the Arctic and talk about how people can adopt similar habits, I will assign a tundra animal role-playing assignment to each group, assigning an animal to study that should prompt students to consider its movement, food sources, and means of staying warm. I'll give students time to practice acting out their role play, letting them try out different gestures and actions that resemble the animal they were given. When they're prepared, the students will present their role play to the class as they pretend to behave like the animals they've been assigned. I'll encourage them to be creative and expressive. Our assessment is students will have a quick discussion following each performance and will be asked to name specific behaviors that they saw and explain how they correspond with human routines. I'll urge them to talk on the similarities and differences between animal and human tundra adaptation.
On Monday, day 11, the student's I can statement says, I can make a 3D clay model describing how animals survive. So the students will get into groups, the same groups they've been in all project or all activities, and they will be provided with some clay, sculpting tools, and they will need to brainstorm together with their group and pick out all necessary tools that they think that they may need, and as well as clay, and they will build an animal or animals, and they're going to have to keep in mind that these animals will need to be from the winter climate that we have discussed in weeks prior. And they'll have to build an animal to the best of their abilities, but it does have to be a winter animal. The teacher will go around the room to assess. She will talk to certain groups and discuss why they chose their particular animal. Some questions may look like, what does this animal do to survive in the cold and stay warm in the winter? On Tuesday, day 12, students will get back into their same groups, and they will collect their animals from yesterday. Today, students will use those same animals, or they can make a new person, and they're going to start building on their 3D clay model. Their 3D clay model will show how these animals or people use external parts or materials to survive in the cold winter. So their 3D model will be a shelter that shows how their animal or person is surviving in the harsh cold winters. The students will brainstorm, get into their groups, and they will be assessed by a rubric that's based on accuracy and detail. The students will turn in their 3D models into the teacher, and they will be displayed in front of the class. This is their final project.